Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Biblical Beast podcast. And we are back with another episode from our Let's Be Honest series. So, before we hop into anything, we're going to start off with our shout out portion of this video, and that is going to go to the people all the way in Uzbekistan. Shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting from such a long distance. But yeah, I hope that you guys are enjoying the podcast, and we're just going to hop right into it. So, like I said, we are still in our Let's Be Honest series. Like I said from the beginning, I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but we're just going with the flow. And whenever it's time for me to start something else, then we will start something else. But until then, here we are. So I'm very excited to do this series because of the season that I'm in. It's very exciting and it's definitely a new for me. But this episode is going to be about the season of waiting. So, I wanted to talk about this because, like you guys know, I've graduated college in May and I've been working at a summer camp that I've been doing since 2023. So, when I graduated high school. And so, I knew it was going to come to a point when, I would have to start looking for jobs, applying, and different things like that. So when May came after graduation, I was talking to this lady that I was working with at my job at school, and she was helping me update my resume, like, add on the things that I haven't added on yet, and pretty much just making sure that it was good for when I start applying to jobs. So I knew eventually that that time was going to come where I had to start applying. And, for the first couple weeks or so, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was like, okay, like I know I'm gonna need a job. Like I gotta figure something out. I knew I wanted to go into administration. Didn't really care what company or anything like that, but I just knew administration was where I wanted to be. So, um, I had to pray to God, for what I was looking for and what I was hoping for. Um, with getting a job, and I had to have faith in him, and I had to have faith in knowing that he was going to provide for me, and wasn't going to give up on me, because this is something pretty important in my life, being able to have a job, being able to take care of myself, make sure my bills are paid and different things like that. So I just really this really put me in a position where my faith could increase with, trusting in him 100% and not feeling like he wasn't going to provide for me or anything of that sort. So I have a scripture. We're going to go to First Thessalonians chapter 5, and we're going to look at verse 17. And that says, quite simple, never stop praying. So in throughout my life, like I've gone to the point where no matter the situation, whatever it can be about or pertaining to, that I've learned to just take things to Jesus and allow him to work things in his favor. At first I really wouldn't pray about certain things because I just kind of didn't think that it was like a reason or like a need to pray about certain things. Like, I always thought that, when you prayed, it had to be something, I don't know, severe or whatever. So certain things I just didn't pray about. But, as I've matured and grown in my walk, I take everything to God, because you never know how things can turn out, whether it's friendships, relationships, jobs, I mean, financial situations. I take everything to God, because then, if something doesn't go my way, then I'll know it's because I didn't take it to God. I try to do these things by myself and, try to figure it out with my own understanding, but ever since, I can guarantee you guys that ever since I've been taking things to God, I've been able to see a difference in a lot of things. I've been able to see a result in a lot of the things. You know, so like that's like literally first step. Never stop praying, no matter what it is you may be praying about or what it is you may be going through. Take it to God. allow God to help you navigate through the situations and get through whatever it is that you're going to, and even give you guidance with, whatever it is that you're going through. But never stop praying to Him. He wants to hear our voice. He wants us to be in communion with Him. And in order for us to do that, we have to keep praying. So I just thought that that was like a good first scripture to definitely start off with, um, as it relates to, what I'm going to be talking about. And so the next scripture I have a couple scriptures today. So the next scripture that I have is in James, and we're going to go to chapter 1 and verse 3. And that says, "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." So I've been in multiple seasons where I've had to trust in God and keep having the faith in Him, you know. And with me doing that, it's giving me the opportunity to grow in those areas of my life, you know. And especially with me, I think patience was something that I've always kind of had to deal with, being patient and not worrying about things. And so in this season of just waiting to hear back from different jobs and things like that, I've definitely had to have patience. I've definitely had to, not worry about it and just allow God to, you know, work with the everything that I'm praying about, the um trying to get interviews and trying to apply for jobs and trying to find jobs to apply for and different things like that. Um yeah, it's definitely been able to allow me to grow in that area, because I know that at a point in time, that was definitely an area in my life that wasn't as strong as it is now. Because, in the beginning of my walk with God, my patience was very limited. My patience was very limited. I would always worry about things, whether it was financial stuff, literally whatever it was. I would always have like the slightest worry about things. And honestly, in this season that I'm in with applying for jobs and trying to hear back, I've been so patient, like, and just waiting, because honestly, you know, I can't stress about things I can't control. You know, if I'm waiting to hear back from people, me stressing and running up and down the street and going crazy, that's not going to do me no good. So I've been so patient this last month and a half of applying and waiting to hear back. And it's been crazy to see how much I've grown in that aspect. Because, like I said before, whew, my patience was slim, very slim. So it's really interesting to see the growth and the maturity that I've been able to have within this season. And, also, as camp is slowly starting to come to an end, this week is our last week. And I want to say, um, at first I was starting to think like, okay, I don't want to come back to the summer camp, but I'm not hearing from any jobs, so I think I'll have to keep that as a backup. And like I said, I didn't really want to come back to the summer camp just for different reasons. So I didn't worry about it or didn't stress about it. But I'm like, okay, this is going to have to be a backup plan. I know that they'll take me, but I'm just going to keep it on the back burner, just in case. And, because I wasn't hearing back from anyone yet. Um, no one's called me, no one's scheduled an interview with me yet. And I've gotten a lot of denials for some of the jobs I've applied for. I've probably gotten about 8 denials. So, you know, um, I've just been really patient and really just trusting in God that even though time is getting close, He's gonna provide for me. He's gonna make sure that I have a job that I can be, stable with and be able to have a source of income, to be able to take care of myself. And I never not once doubted. Even, as camp got closer and closer to being over, I never once doubted. I just waited, kept being patient, and trusting in God. And it's funny because just a couple of days ago, I received a message from two of the different jobs that I've applied to, and I was able to get interviews for one. I have an interview, a phone interview tomorrow with one, and then I had another phone interview. What was it? Last Thursday. That one was kind of unnoticed because she kind of called me and left me a voicemail, and I called her back, and it was kind of like a quick interview on the phone. And, she was just telling me, yeah, like, let's get in contact within the next week or so, when your current job is over, and we can, talk about trainings and different things like that. And I was just in the car like, wow, I was being patient and patient and patient time after time, and I never doubted God's work and that He could do with that. And I was able to hear back from two people with 1 week left of camp. 1 week left of camp. And I was just like, this really just shows that when we trust in God 100%, and when we have faith and continue to depend on Him, God will do mysterious things in mysterious ways. But we have to learn to continue to trust in Him. But when we don't trust, and when we fall short and don't think that He will provide for us, then that's when things don't always go as planned. But when we seek Him, trust in Him, and have faith, He will provide. And that is what He just did. So I was literally like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I just thought that was so cool. And I thought that I would share that because it's not a coincidence at all. That was God telling me, Savon, you were patient, you were waiting, you didn't doubt me, and here's your reward. It was kind of like that. And so, yeah, I thought I would share that with you guys because it was just so, so crazy. But there's another scripture that I want to look at. We're going to be in Proverbs. We're going to go to chapter 3, and we're going to look at chapter 3 and verse 6. And that says, seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. So I wanted to pop in this scripture because, even with receiving those two interviews, I can now take this time to seek God and really figure out which path it is that He wants me to take, um, and really, seek Him and really pray. Take that time to pray and even fast and wanting to know, okay, God, I have two positions. Which one is the place that my purpose can be fulfilled in? Not just picking a job just because, but Lord, which job is it that you have called me to do? So I'll even just these next couple of days, week leading up until when I, get in contact with the hiring manager, really just meditating on that and really not just taking that with a grain of salt, but really like, God, okay, which one is it that you want me to do? Which one have you called me to do? You've opened the door for me. Now, which one is it? And it's just so crazy to see, how everything just falls into place, and kind of going on with that, like I was saying, I'm entering that season of leaning on God to make those wise decisions, you know, and I didn't even realize that this was the same um book, but we're gonna stay in Proverbs and stay in chapter 3, and we're gonna move back a verse, and that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, do not depend on your own understanding. And even with that, just trusting in the Lord's understanding, and like I was saying, He may have a specific reason for me to go to one of these jobs. My purpose may be needed in one of these jobs and not the other, so I have to be wise on not just choosing a job because one may pay more or one may have more of this or more of that, but picking the job that God knows that I can just do so much in, grow so much in, and even be able to spread the gospel in, you know. So on my part, that's where the obedience comes into play, and listening to God and hearing God, and, with that. So I just thought that was just so inspirational and encouraging for me to share, because it really gives you guys a glimpse of, one, what I have going on, two, just the growth that I've been able to do within this. So, like I said, I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited to enter this new chapter of my life, not just part-time working, trying to make some money to, just have extra on the side, but really working, stewarding my finances, saving, one day being able to move out, eventually, starting a family, all those different things. But really entering this new chapter of adulthood, even though I've been an adult for a while, but like, you get what I mean. The after college life, the post grad life. But yeah, so if you're someone that is in a similar season of waiting, you know, really seek God and really depend on Him and pray to Him what it is you need, what it is you're looking for, and just really stay grounded in your faith and believing that He will provide for you, because He provided for me. He opened doors for me, and I will forever be grateful of that, because, like I said, I wanted to make sure that I can take care of myself. Even though I live at home with my parents, I want to make sure I can take care of myself, do the things that it is I need to do, as I enter this new phase of my life. So I hope this is encouraging to those that are in a similar season. And I just encourage you guys, like I said, to just stay grounded, continue to seek God, continue to pray. Like I said in 1 Thessalonians 5:17, never stop praying for what it is. Whatever it is that you may want, you may need, always continue to pray to God, and have faith in Him, because faith is key. It is key in all we do. So, but yes, that is all that I have for today. Like I said, I hope that, as you go through your week, that can be an encouragement for you. And, for whatever season it is that you're in, and whatever it is that you may be going through. But, yeah. So that is all that I have for today's portion of, no, that is all I have for today's episode. But it is time for our last shout out portion of this video. And that shout out is going to be from the Biblical Beast TikTok. And that is going to go to Shannon_M. So shout out to Shannon. Thank you so much for following the Biblical Beast TikTok and for supporting the Biblical Beast podcast. So I will catch you guys on the next one. I hope you have a great week. Peace.